Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is National War Down Syndrome Day. And as you guys know, that my daughter Amber Williams, or if you didn't know, my daughter Amber Williams was diagnosed with Down syndrome shortly after birth. And so today I wanted to do this video to honor her in so many ways. I'm hoping I don't cry. I don't feel like I'm gonna cry because I cried this morning, but I'm hoping that I could just give you guys a little history of my journey with my daughter. So what I decided to do was pull out her baby book. So let me tell you guys about this baby book. So when I was told that I was pregnant, I was told that I was going to be having a boy. But I was told that she was going to be a boy. So I hate that her ultrasound was I'm just all over the place right now because this is kind of unscripted. I knew I wanted to do this video, but I also wanted to give you guys like a brief history because going from someone to say that they cannot have children to have such a beautiful daughter, to have birthed a piece of heaven, it's a journey. It's a story in itself. It's also a testimony in itself. So I keep Amber's baby book and have for, of course, years. And I often look in this. Over the past few months, I've looked at this quite often. There you go, tearing up. But anyway, so this right here is a picture, is her ultrasound. This is my very first ultrasound. And it says 4 months in the womb. And so I was 4.5 months pregnant when I found out that I went to the doctor and for a regular checkup. It was my first doctor's appointment in this area because I had moved some months prior, and so I was just getting connected to a new OBGYN. And I just remember going through that little girly thing, you get your pap smear and so forth. And the doctor asked if I had a urine test, and I was like, no, I didn't. So I end up doing a urine test. Obviously, when he did my pap smear, he kind of figured something wasn't right, but he didn't say. So he asked me to get a urine specimen. And so I did, and moments later, the nurse comes back in and she's congratulating me and telling me that I'm pregnant. And I'm like, what? Who, me? You must have me mixed up with someone else. And she verified my name and my birthday again. And so it was true that I was pregnant. And she was asking me all these questions that I really didn't have an answer for. And I was young. I was married, but I was young. And I didn't know. I mean, you know about pregnancy, but you don't know about pregnancy because, again, when you're told that you cannot have children, you really just don't, really know what to say, and you really don't know how to answer questions, right? And so I remember that, and I hate that this is like this because on this day, I was told as well what the gender of my child was. So, but I remember going down and getting this ultrasound, and the sonographer is looking at me because I was telling her that I was just told that I was pregnant, and she's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm trying to figure out why she's looking at me like I'm crazy. And so then the doctor comes in, and both of them are sitting there. Now, mind you, I'm by myself. Like, I went to this doctor's appointment just thinking that it was just going to be a regular checkup. I'm in, out, I'm going home, right? And mind you, that day I had just walked and I ran a couple of miles. I think overall, I probably put in like 5 miles that day. So, and I'm doing this and I'm 4.5 months pregnant. So that's when they confirmed how far along I was. And I was shocked like a big dog. I was like, what? So anyway, I think at the time I may have had a car phone, but I know when I got home is when I called my mom and I told her, and she was like, what? I mean, we were just all surprised. Like, I was 4.5 months pregnant. And so at this time I had no morning sickness. I had no cravings. I had absolutely nothing. And I weighed 99, maybe 100 pounds. I was very small. So I had no idea. My stomach is flat as a board. and I was 4.5 months pregnant. And so, and I was telling my mom about it. And my husband came home at the time, and I think I was laying on the sofa, or maybe we were on the phone. I cannot remember. It's really hard because I remember us discussing it on the phone. Oh, I said something like, I need to talk to him when he got home or whatever. And I think when he got home, and I'm trying to think back to this as well. So when he got home, we were on the sofa, and I told him, I said, oh, I need to talk to you about something. And he said to me, I know you're pregnant, so go ahead and tell me. And I was like, how does he know I'm pregnant? And I think he said he had a dream, or he had a feeling that something was different, and something was different about me. And men know, right? So, and I can go into a whole nother video about this, but I think men just know. And I think with our intimate interactions, like, he felt that something was different. So we had that conversation. We both also had discussed the possibility of not ever having children. And so I think, of course, this was a shock to both of us. And so we were trying to like figure it out. And then where we were in our marriage. And so, and it brought about some uncomfortable conversations. But at the same time, I'm so glad that I stood my ground, and I stood my spiritual position, and I had such a beautiful baby. So I'm just gonna leave that as is. And so, but on this day, and I wish the date was on here, or that I could see the date on here, and I can't, and I didn't, because I never thought this would fade away, because otherwise I would have framed it. I hate that. Can you go back and get an ultrasound? Can you request it? I see my name. I just don't see the date. Well, it's 2:45, because it's like 1445. I don't see the date. Oh, I do. August 3rd. Let me write that down. I think I want to take this out and put it in, or put something over it, because it has really, August 3rd. I'm writing this down. 1993. August 3rd, 1993. That would be right. I need you to go get dressed. Wash your face. Brush your teeth.
Okay, let me put this in.
Close the door. Okay, so I wish I would have framed this. But anyway, on this day, so I was 4.5 months pregnant on this day. And, 4 months pregnant. I say 4.5 months, but 4 months. But anyway, so I was pregnant, and you can see where they circled that I was having a boy. And I just remember, wow, I'm going to be a mom, and I'm going to be a mom to a boy. Like, how, you hear stories about mom and their boys, and girls, you like to dress up and you like to comb hair. Well, everybody know that wasn't me with Amber and combing hair. not me and Madison combing hair. I just don't know how to really comb girls' hair. That's just not something that I've done. So just to hear that I was having a boy and about to experience that mom and son relationship. And I was about to experience me also, that I'm going to have a son and his dad was going to be so involved in his life. Like, just all of these things were going through my head. And we immediately knew what we were going to name our son. And his name was going to be Jonathan Patrick. And we were going to call him John Patrick. My husband, my ex-husband, I'm going to say husband because I'm talking about in that time, right? So my husband was a very strong, he was a very avid John McEnroe fan. He loved John McEnroe. So he wanted his son to be named after John McEnroe. So we're going to call our son John Patrick because my husband's name was Patrick as well. So, but anyway, so we had all of these things that we were talking about and what we were going to decorate our son's room in. So it was going to be New York Yankees because my husband was from New York and he was a Yankees fan. And that was how we decorated our son's room was in New York Yankees. And so we just had all of these things in our head. Like, you know, what is our son? Is our son going to go to the military like my husband? Is he going to play basketball? Is he going to play football? So like all of these things you're thinking. And so throughout this whole entire time, you have all of these dreams that you're thinking, or all of these, well, you have all of these thoughts that you're thinking. And so throughout this time as well, and even on this day, on August the 3rd, 1993, never knew that I was going to be having a child with Down syndrome, and did not know that my son was actually going to be a girl. And I just remember, once things leveled out with the conversations between my husband and I, and coming to terms that we were becoming parents, and everything just became real. So my whole thought process started changing. But again, never knew that something would be wrong with my birthing. Did not know that something would be wrong with my daughter. Didn't know that something was just going to be different about our life, right? So this is at 4 months, and so we're going through this thing. I'm still not having like cravings, like foods or anything like that. And so at 6.5 months pregnant, and I think that's where the half comes in. So I was 4 months pregnant when I found out, and 6.5 months when I went into labor. And I just remember that night we were laying in the bed, we were watching TV. I can't remember what was on. And so I want to say there was a football game or something that had just went off, and I'm pretty sure that it was. And so I remember that night, it was late, getting up to go to the bathroom. I just remember feeling a little lightheaded, but just thought that, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. Maybe it's something I ate. I don't know. Again, it's the first time I've ever been pregnant. But I remember getting up out of the bed, and I remember my husband becoming very anxious, and he was like calling me by my name. He was like, Terry, Terry, Terry. And so, and at that moment, I could just feel blood. I was bleeding really badly, and we were panicking, and I just remember being covered up, and then I started feeling cold. And so we got into the car, we went to the emergency room, and I was telling them that I was 6.5 months pregnant, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy because, again, I'm not showing. I'm 6.5 months pregnant, and I'm still not showing. And didn't start showing until I was 7 months. It's like I woke up one day and all of a sudden I have this stomach, right? So, but I remember going to the emergency room, and we weren't there long, and then they got us up to the birthing center. And oh, and I have to tell you guys this. So when I went back to I'm gonna go back to when they were doing the ultrasound to find out how far along I was. Like the sonographer, she was like, "Do you hear the heartbeat?" And I just remember like, oh my gosh, I hear a heartbeat. Like I'm hearing my baby's heartbeat. Like it was so surreal to me that I was hearing my baby's heartbeat. And so also during that time, she was asking me, and the doctor was asking me, did I feel like any movement or anything? And so my mom said I probably felt some movement and just thought it was like gas or something. I was like, no, I've not felt any movement whatsoever. And I was telling my husband about being pregnant. And so, and I just remember later that night laying on that sofa, and I just felt a little movement in my stomach, like a little wave. And I was like, and it scared me. And I kind of like sat up and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I lay back down again and I put my hand on my stomach, and I could feel my baby move. And so, and then I was telling my husband, and so he started feeling the baby move and everything. So it was like in that day finding out that I was pregnant, but then also feeling my baby move, hearing the heartbeat, being told that I was pregnant, hearing the baby's heartbeat, and then feeling the baby move. So at 6.5 months, I went into labor, and I'm not really sure what caused. I cannot remember, and I probably have to go back and look at medical records. But I was threatening a miscarriage. And so at that time, they were asking me, did I want to do an amniocentesis or, and they were telling me the risk to figure out what was wrong. And I was like, no, but the bleeding stopped. And I remember, I don't know if it was drugs that I was on, but I remember my stepdad being in the room with me. And so my stepdad had passed away like 2 years prior. And so here I am, dreaming or seeing him in the room with me. And I remember telling my husband that I kept saying that Peter was in the room because that was my stepdad's name. And so, but anyway, so I had that experience, and but I elected not to do the amniocentesis because I was already threatening that I was going to lose the baby, and that the chances of them doing it at that time was extremely high. And so, but they had me on a monitor, and then they were doing an ultrasound, and everything was fine. And so, but they put me on bed rest. So from that moment on, I was on bed rest. So I went to go live with my mom because my husband at the time worked off. He was no longer in the military. So he worked off. And so to keep me from being by myself, I went to go live with my mom. And so, which was one of the best things ever, like being with your mom. And yeah. And so at the same time, my twin sister finds out she's pregnant. So I'm like 4 months ahead of her in pregnancy. So I was on bed rest. And so I was going to the doctor very frequently because, you know, I was threatening a miscarriage. So I got into my 7th month, which is good because you want to get to your 7th month. And so if anything was going to happen, because the baby's lungs have started to develop. But I started doing really, really well. But I was going to the doctor frequently. And so, but throughout this time, I was told that I was still having a boy. Like even my baby shower, I got boy stuff. I was having a boy. Like I was told, 4 or 5 times that I was having a boy. Not a girl, but a boy. So that was very interesting to me. And I remember the day, and mind you, I'm having the ultrasounds. And so Amber had a significant heart defect. She had a V canal defect where she had 3 holes in her heart, and 1 eventually grew. So she had 2 that did not grow in. So she had to have surgery when she was 4 months, and then she had she had 1 surgery at 4 months, and then she had another surgery when she was 2. And so during these ultrasounds, not one person told me that she had holes in her heart. Like no one ever said anything that she had holes in her heart. So this is the only ultrasound that I have, and I remember having others, but I cannot find them, so I'm not really sure where they are. I'm sure I'll come across them at some point, but each time it says baby boy, baby boy Williams. So funny. But anyway, so yeah, so no one picked up that she had a heart defect, because had they told me that she had a heart defect, and had they known that, then they would have known that her particular heart would coincide with having Down syndrome. So going through all of this, I still did not know that I was having a child or a girl who was going to have Down syndrome. So went through my pregnancy, no issues after that 6.5 months, scared of threatening, and I was on bed rest. So the only time that I really got out was when I went to the doctor and to go visit family, and I was pretty much sitting and then with my feet propped up and all that good stuff. So just taking very, very good care of myself and eating right. And then I developed gestational diabetes. I think when I was 7.5 months pregnant when I was diagnosed with it, because all of a sudden I woke up one morning and I was like really, really big, but I was puffy and all this stuff. And so I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. Which is another story in itself as well. And so, because I ended up gaining like 72 pounds, and it was like immediate weight gain. So yeah, so just think of me with 72 pounds or 50 more pounds, because I'm only 122 right now. So with 50 more pounds heavier. But anyway, so there was things that just wasn't right about my pregnancy, but no one really just picked up on it. And so, I was about to say something else. So when, I think it was like the day before I gave birth to her, I went to the doctor and they did another ultrasound just to make sure that everything was okay. And I remember when I was in the hospital, when I was 6.5 months pregnant, they did a vaginal ultrasound. I'm not really sure why they did that when I was threatening. Now I'm thinking about that. But anyway, so the day before I had her, I had an ultrasound, and my doctor was like, he's looking fine, he's looking good, everything's looking good. So whatever. So and then the very next day, that very next morning, oh, and I have to tell you guys this. So I was like I think I was like right into the 8th month mark, and I had an early doctor's appointment. I had to go and do all that glucose screening stuff. That's when I knew I had gestational diabetes. And so that morning I called one of my cousins that worked at Taco Bell, and I wanted Taco Bell. I was craving. So mind you, I had no cravings at the beginning of my pregnancy, but that day I was craving tacos, and I had 10 tacos, and I had gas so bad I did not feel my baby move for like an entire day. And I called my doctor and I was like, my baby's not moving. I'm scared that something has happened, blah, 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 whatever. And so, and I think I ended up going to the doctor. I did end up going to the doctor, and everything was fine. And so, and they were like, what did you do differently? And I was like, I came to the doctor and I ate at Taco Bell, and I went home and I just noticed that I was not feeling my baby. And so I'm back here now, like something is wrong. I'm not feeling my baby move. And so, but they did an ultrasound. The baby was in fact moving, but I think because I had so much gas on my stomach, I wasn't feeling it. I had 10 tacos, guys. 10 tacos. And to this day, you won't even really see me eat a taco. I cannot even tell you the last time I ate a taco. And in my mind, I think about that. I think about Taco Bell. The night of my wedding, we ate Taco Bell. Don't ask me why, but we did. We literally left our wedding reception, and we were supposed to be going like to New Orleans to do like kind of like a mini honeymoon. And we end up stopping at Taco Bell and eating. And then the next time I remember eating Taco Bell is when I ate those 10 tacos and didn't feel my baby move. And so me and Taco Bell, we don't have a really good relationship. You eat it on your wedding night, you know you're doomed, right? So anyway, So the day before I had her, I had an ultrasound and the doctor was saying everything was looking good. And so my due date was actually in January. So I had Amber by their due date. I had her 3.5 weeks early. So, but she was 7 pounds and 7 ounces when she was born. So had I went another 3.5 weeks, she probably would have been like a 9 pound baby. Plus I had gestational diabetes. So she could have been a really, really big baby. But I had her, of course, December 31st. But I remember I remember waking up the next day after I left my doctor's appointment, and I just wasn't, I just wasn't feeling right. I felt airy. I felt kind of lightheaded, kind of felt a little woozy, and I just kept feeling like somebody was pinching me, like in my down my spine. It was just like little pinches. It wasn't like any hard contractions. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't anything that I felt when I went into labor at 6.5 months pregnant. It was nothing like that. And I just remember feeling those little pinches, and I called my doctor's office and I was saying I felt a little woozy. So I went to the health department and got my blood pressure checked. And my blood pressure was fine. And I called the doctor and said my blood pressure was fine. And he said, well, if I kept feeling weird, if I was like spotting or anything like that, to call and just come into the hospital. That was like early that by noontime. I had called my mom. My mom was at work because I told her that morning, and she was like, if you start feeling worse, call me. And I called her when she was at work, and I said, I'm still not feeling all that great. I keep feeling like these little stinging pinches like in my spine. And she was like asking me how often it was occurring, and she was asking me, did I feel like any heaviness like in my pelvic area? And I was like, no, but I don't feel right. And she was like, she was gonna get off work, and so she said maybe I need to go to the hospital. And I called to my husband, and I said, my mom's getting off work, and I said, I think I'm in labor, I'm not sure. And he immediately leaves. So his mom lived probably like 10 minutes from my mom. So he came, and so it was me, him, and my mom. We went to the emergency room, and I was in fact in labor. They hooked me up to the monitor to do the contractions. So I got to the hospital right at like maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock. And and I had dilated, I think maybe like I was at 4 centimeters. And my water hadn't broke. I didn't see any mucus plug, but again, I'm a young mom. At this time now, I'm 19. I'm 19, so I don't know anything about pregnancy, right? Now, if I had to do it all over again, I could say, yeah, I was in labor. But at that time, the way that I was feeling, I was like really woozy, and it wasn't like hard contractions, and I wasn't feeling it in my pelvic area. I didn't feel it like in my back. I felt it in my back, but it was like going down my spine. But when I got to the hospital, I was in labor. I was 4 centimeters dilated. And then they got me up to the room, and then when they got me into the room, they checked me again, and I was like 7 centimeters dilated. Like I was dilating like really, really fast, and everybody's running around. I'm trying to figure out what is going on, and my mom was like, "You're about to have a baby," and I'm like, "What now?" Like I'm just so like not in tune, right? And this is when I was thinking about labor. I'm thinking I'm supposed to be crying, I'm supposed to be hollering, I'm supposed to be in a lot of pain, and I wasn't feeling any of that. And they were all, the doctors and the nurses, they were like, something is wrong because she's not feeling a contraction. Then I started to get worried, and and then they were asking about the epidural, and but I wasn't in any pain. And the nurse was like, and the doctor was like, we need to give you something just in case. And I was like, but I'm not in any pain, I'm fine. And I kept saying that. And I think there was like a threshold. So like you have to get it between that 7 and 9. I don't know. But anyway, so I don't think I got an epidural. If I did, I don't remember getting one. I have to look back at I think I remember that, right? So, but I remember them telling me like when to push, because I couldn't feel my contractions, but I could see, or I could hear them saying, okay, you're getting ready to hear one. Having a contraction, because they were telling my husband to look at the monitor so he can know when I'm having a contraction. And so everything was like moving so fast. And so got to the hospital right at 3 o'clock. At 6:58, I give birth. And so my doctor is in the room with me and the nurses, and they're telling me when to push. And I was like, I am pushing. And I remember saying that. I kept saying, I am pushing, I'm pushing, I'm pushing. And they were like, one more push. I think I may have pushed like 4 or 5 times, and here comes my baby. And the doctor says, it's a girl. And I was like, what? And so my husband and I were looking at each other, and we're like, it's a girl. We both said it like at the same time, like, it's a girl. And I don't know if they thought we weren't happy, but we were just shocked as hell that all this time we've been told that we were having a boy, and we have this beautiful baby girl. And I just remembered them like wiping her off. And I don't know if my husband, if he cut the cord, or not, but I just remember this baby being on my chest. And I remember at that moment, I started crying. I was like, oh my gosh. And I just remember like when I had her, like there was like this airy force feeling that just came out. It was like somebody just took all the air out of me and then inflated me, like just put air back into me. It felt like, I hate to say this, but it felt like I had a really good orgasm, and then all of a sudden I got it together. That's how having Amber felt. Like it was not a bad feeling. Like it was a really, really good feeling, but it was like really like a lot of air. And I just remember being shocked, and I was now excited, and then all of a sudden I'm in tears. Like I'm supposed to be crying. Like I got this baby on my chest, and I am like crying, and they're wiping her off and all this stuff, and I could hear her little cry, and it was so sweet. Oh my gosh, it was so sweet. And then I remember them taking her, and then they're putting her like on the warmer and all this stuff, and doing all the things that they typically do with the footprint, and wiping her off and suction her off and all this stuff. And I just remember she has so much hair on her head, and here's her little, that's her little footprints right there. I don't know if you guys could see it, but then it says, I'm a girl, and it says, it's a girl. I just remember, I kept that because I was like, it's a girl. But that's all of her identifying stuff right there. And I want to see if I have a picture of her. Her baby picture, because I want you guys to see. Maybe I don't have it there, but my brother Zach, who now lives with me. And so she had her first prescription for ointment. I kept all of that. Like, so funny. I'm going to show you guys all of this. But my brother who lives with me now wrote that. And that was like on January the 3rd, 1994. The baby is litter, and it is a girl. The baby is good, and she is my sister baby. I am an uncle, and I am good to the girl, and the baby is pretty. Oh my gosh, his language in here. I like the baby too. My mother likes the girl too. The baby can drink the milk too. The baby is fat, and I love you. That's so funny. But I was trying to see, here's her baby picture. That bottom picture right there, that is Amber. She had the most beautiful head of hair Oh my gosh, like, and that was when she was 2 days old. So that's her. And so as you can see, like the um, characteristics of Down syndrome was very visible. But also, she had very, very strong features like my dad's family. They have very slanted almond eyes and they have that fat face. And so, yeah, so I'm looking at this. It's just, So anyway, still was not told immediately at birth that she had Down syndrome. It was kind of, I'm pretty sure it was that morning. Let me take that back. It was that morning. It was early that morning that they suspected that she had Down syndrome. He was talking about the creases in her hand and he was looking at mine and our creases kind of matched up. And he said that we would have to do some genetic testing. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever. So that was like the furthest thing from my mind. I think the more pressing thing on my mind was trying to find a name for my baby girl because I did not have a name for her. And so, so yeah, trying to find a name for her because she was a boy, right? So we had a boy name. And so I wanted her to have a name that was not just simple, but had some meaning to it. And I remember being in the bathroom, I was told not to get up and to walk. And so this was kind of like early that morning. And before the doctor came in and I'm like, what are we going to name her? You know? And so, and I just remember standing in the bathroom and then I came out. But when I was in the bathroom, I said Amber. It just came to me. It was like Amber. And I kept saying it and it started feeling really, really real to me. And she was in the room with me. And so, and I remember they had taken her out for something and had brought her back in. And so when I looked at her, I said Amber. And I can just remember like this little sly smile came across her face. And I was like, that's her name. And so when my husband came in and I told him, I said, have a name for her. And he was like, what? And I said, Amber. And he really liked the name. And then I kept thinking too, because like Ambus was my mom's middle name. And that was also her dad's name as well. And then I said, oh, got to come up with a middle name. My dad's middle name is Lee. So that's how we got the Lee. And then his mom's name is Cora. And so I said Corey because Cora sounded kind of old. So her name, of course, was Amber LeCorey Williams. So that's how we came up with her name. But Amber just came to me like it was just, I was standing in the bathroom and it just came to me and just everything that the name stand for was Amber. And my nephew, when he did her eulogy at her funeral, he talked about the stone Amber and what it represented and that the years that it takes to make that stone and the strength of that stone. So, but anyway, so it wasn't until I think, and I don't have it in here because I looked as well. It say other names we considered. It says your full name, Amber LeCorey Williams. Your name was chosen by me, mother. Your name was chosen because of my mom's middle name being Ambus, Pat's mom's name being Cora, and my dad's name, Lee, Amber LeCorey Williams. Her distinguishing characteristics was her eyes and her lips, her facial expressions. She had a dimple by her nose. She was born December 31st, 1993. She was a New Year's Eve baby. Expected due date was January the 8th. And then because I was threatening a miscarriage and they said that I may have to have a cesarean, and so that date was December 29th when I was going to have my cesarean, but everything looked really good, so the doctors decided to let me go ahead and carry her much further, and I actually ended up having a vaginal birth. So my mom's, it says mom's first reaction was, are you serious? Then came the tears. Dad's first reaction was, I know you are, so just tell me. And he had a smile. So my doctors were Dr. Glaze, Dr. Lee, and Dr. Sessoms. So Dr. Lee, I think, was like my specialty doc. I had a lot of prenatal tests. I did have the AFPT testing, which is strange that it didn't pick up any abnormalities. Special memories of my pregnancy. Oh, wow. So that was like 3 days later, I felt the baby move for the first time. I was thinking it was in the same day. And August 9th, I had my second ultrasound. And wow. So that ultrasound was August 9th, 1993. And it says my second ultrasound, so I'm not really sure my first ultrasound where it went to. It says that those little pinches in my stomach, which were contractions, were like about 15 minutes apart, and they started around 7 a.m. and they came to 13 and 12 minutes apart by 1:45 p.m. And so on the way to the hospital, I started feeling those little pinches 8 to 3 minutes apart. And at the hospital is when it all began. So labor really lasted only 3.5 hours. So who accompanied me? Oh, so my little brothers was with me. I didn't know that. And my husband was in the delivery room. And it says special memories of the event, seeing the baby for the first time, seeing Pat's reaction, rather hearing his reaction afterwards. And mom's first reaction to you was, it's a girl, it's a girl. And dad's first reaction was, she looks just like you, baby. Oh, wow. It just bring back so many memories. But anyway, so her confirmation of Down syndrome did not come until, I want to say she was maybe like a month or so. And I'm trying to see if I have all of this in here. Oh, look at this. I didn't realize I had that. So I get to tell you guys some more stuff. So it says December 31st. She was born, of course. She was 19.5 inches long, 7 pounds, 7 ounces. Everything is great. So February is when we did, so January 18th, we went back in for 2 weeks and for blood tests. February the 1st, 1 month, 1 day, she was 21.5 inches long. She was 9 pounds. So she was gaining weight kind of slowly. And as you guys see, like she was 4 months and she only weighed 8 pounds. But she went in for outpatient to do chromosome testing. February the 11th, we found out that Amber has Down syndrome. So this was like 2 months, almost 2 months later is when we found out she had Down syndrome. She had a lot of doctor's appointments, and I kept up with this very well. So February 21st, 1994, says doctor doesn't believe Amber has Down syndrome. She said that she is over intelligent. She would schedule another blood test. And so this was March, So March 25th, we went to the doctor, found out that Amber has a heart defect. X-rays were done. On April the 1st, she had an echo, an ultrasound, blood test. She has 3 holes in her heart and surgery is needed. So April 15th, 1994, Down syndrome was confirmed. Postponed surgery for within 6 months to a year. She's getting better. She was put on solid foods at 5 months because of her weight. She wasn't gaining any weight. She was prescribed some medicines on May 25th. She was scheduled for surgery June 29th. She was only 10 pounds. At 6 months, she was only 10 pounds. So she wasn't gaining weight because she was tired out very easily. I do remember that. So she was scheduled to go into surgery on August 5th. 1994, and her surgery was August 7th. So on August 24th, it says, went into the hospital for surgery, got out on the 29th. So we were in the hospital for 5 days, and then we had surgery. So, doing great, no fluid on her. So June 14th, 1995, she was doing great, no fluid on heart and lungs, was taken off one medication, doesn't go back until 6 months. So on March 8, 1996, she had open heart surgery. And so that's when it all went down from there, is when we were starting to be in the hospital a little more. So her Down syndrome was not confirmed until April 15th, 1994. So she was 4 months old is when she was confirmed to have Down syndrome. So, and just over the course of time, just having Amber was just amazing. Smiles, she starts smiling December 31st. It says her first smile. Same night she was in the room with us, December 31st, 1993. She slept through the night. She never had a problem sleeping through the night. She was such a good baby. She first started to crawl on June 6th. She set up unsupported middle of November 1994. And mind you, she was, very small. She was not gaining weight. And then she held her cup. It said holds a cup, February 12th, 1995. She started eating solid foods, like really early, because she eats a word. She was like late 1994, and she brushed her own teeth in 1996. I'm trying to see when she started walking. Doesn't have that, but she started walking real early. But anyway, so yeah, so those were the moments that we found out. And so on January 6, 1994, 6:15, her cord came off. And guess what, guys? I still have her cord. And so that right there is like all of the first medicines that she was on, and I kept those, but that's her cord right there. And then that's her little bracelet from surgery. And these are all the little things, how they were giving her medicines right there. And I kept all of that. Her prescription, her ID card from the Children's Hospital. Like, I kept all of that. And I don't know who bought Amber. Let me look at this card. I'm not sure who this is. Thinking of you, Jerry Drummond. But this is, somebody sent Amber a card when she was in Birmingham. So this is when we went to Birmingham to have surgery. All of that right there. And I kept that. So obviously, says March 7, 1996, Amber was admitted into the hospital, Birmingham, Alabama. Her open heart surgery was the next morning, March 8, 1996. She's on a ventilator and is in ICU. It was a struggle, complications. And these are her little fingerprints. I probably should frame that. That's from 1996. So we didn't know that Amber was gonna have Down syndrome. And this is her at 7 months. And I remember us taking a picture at her first surgery. And yeah, so we had her first surgery at that time. And I remember her sitting up in that chair, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's sitting by herself. Because she was so weak at one time. So I'm not sure. This is a card for her dad that oh. So this is so funny. So this is a Christmas card for my ex-husband, Amber's dad. Christmas isn't just once a year, it's every day. It says one day our child is going to say daddy is the best. My handwriting is the same. I says, not that I am bragging or boasting on myself, but I don't believe you could have found anyone better match for you. Oh gosh. It says, in many ways, I'm just as old-fashioned as a 100-year-old lady, but I have always believed in one love for a lifetime. And it's a P.S. Baby loves you too. Oh, I'm going to keep that forever. That is so funny. And Amber thought that her dad was the best dad ever. So anyway, so yeah, that's our story of having a child with Down syndrome. I truly believe that Amber was destined to be my daughter. Again, because I told you guys, we were having a boy. Even the day before, we were told we were having a boy, and miraculously, Amber comes out as a girl and forever changed our world. So, if I can keep it together, I'm going to read to you guys. This is Amber's obituary. So, Amber passed away October 8th. That's still hard to say these days. It's still hard to say. Amber did so many things in her life that showed me that she was destined to be here. She was destined to do some amazing things, right? So I go from smiling now to crying. But this is, Amber loved purples. That was her favorite color. And October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, a month that Amber passed away, October 8th. And so, and I talked about that on my channel. But I also wanted to read to you guys what I wrote for Amber, because I want you guys to know that just because you have a child with Down syndrome. Okay, I have to step away. So just because you have a child with Down syndrome or any other intellectual disability does not mean that your life is limited, does not mean that your child's life is limited. If anything, that should be inspiration and motivation for you to want to do better, have better, become more educated on not just your child's disability, but be more passionate about life, because that's exactly what Amber did for me. Like, I would not be the person that I am. I wouldn't be the mother that I am had it not been for me birthing a piece of heaven. Like, God gave Amber to the right mother. He gave her to a mother who never gives up, right? And I wear that proudly. And not one day of having Amber did I ever wish that things were different. And I say that in terms of my life and how things happen. So, and I didn't tell you guys that Amber's dad and I, we divorced when she was, I want to say she was 5 or so. And so not only did we divorce, but the relationship with Amber and her dad pretty much ended as well. And he chose that route. That's not something that I chose for her. Her dad chose not to have a strong presence in her life, and he took a back seat. And even with that, I have to be very thankful of, because it could have been that he was in our lives and he was stopping the progression of her becoming an independent woman. And so for that, I'm forever grateful. I'm not happy that he did not have a relationship with her, or she didn't have a relationship with him, but it never stops her from loving him. It never stops her from caring about him. And as a matter of fact, she talked about her dad every single day. So I don't feel like anything that has happened and becoming a parent of a child with Down syndrome was a hindrance for me, because I've accomplished so much. Amber accomplished so much. Her little sister has accomplished so much. She's already ahead of the game, and she knows what advocacy looks like. Amber was a self-advocate. She can speak for herself, and she did some amazing things in her life. And so Down syndrome is not a death sentence. It was, even when we were told she had Down syndrome and we were told to give her away, or to give her to a family member that could take care of her and just kind of just love her because of things that she would never do. I was told that she would never walk, she would never talk, she would never do for herself, she would never graduate from school. I was told all of these things, and Amber lived such a beautiful life, 25 years, a beautiful life. I mean, just a vibrant kid, could recite speeches, and she loved Martin Luther King. She loved Barack Obama. She loved, oh my gosh, she loved Chris Brown. Did she love Chris Brown? Oh my gosh. She loved Chris Brown, and I listened to Chris Brown every single day. She loved to dance, and she was never on a swim team, but Amber could swim from one end of the pool to the other without even coming up. I mean, that girl was a fish. She was a whale in the water, and her mom would just do this. Like the whole time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. She would get at the highest diving board, and she would dive into the water. And so if I had one regret, it was that I never put her into like Olympic swimming, because she would have killed the game. I mean, that girl was such a great swimmer. But anyway, so we did cheerleading, and we did so much. Our lives were so beautiful together. And when I tell you guys, I'm so thankful for having her. Oh my gosh. And so when I hear people talk about the negativity of having a child with Down syndrome, I cannot relate to that, because though there's some things that Amber could not do that some of her peers could do, Amber experienced much more than some of her peers. And Amber went to the prom. She did all of the high school stuff that seniors do. She did the senior ride, and they picked her up from school, and she had the senior shirt. She was on the homecoming court. She did all of that. She did so much. She did driver's ed. And I bought her a car. And I was teaching her how to drive. So did she learn how to drive on her own? No, but I gave her those experiences, and I gave her the experiences that she also requested that I give her. So we had such a good life. But it came to an end on October 8th. But I also have to say to you guys that, I'm still a mother. I am still a mother of a child with Down syndrome. That would never, ever end. And I will always be an advocate for parents of children with disabilities, intellectual disabilities, special abilities, special health care needs, all of that. Because things could have been so different. Like, instead of me not having my daughter, I could have had 0 kids. Like, I could have made the choice when we were having some intimate conversations when I was married, either to abort her. I could have given her away, or even at the moment, I could have made the decision to do an amniocentesis, and I had an abortion that way, a medical abortion, because there was so much against my pregnancy But God said otherwise. God said, there's not going to be anything that's going to stop this angel from being born on this earth. And that's how I see that. No, she was not Jesus, but she was my angel. And I know she was an angel. And just some of the things that I experienced when she passed away. I know she was an angel. She was destined to be here. So we have this life that's always going to be a testimony. So if I can keep it together, I'm going to read this to you guys. It says, I'm so blessed to have been chosen by God to be your mother. Even though God orchestrated your transition, I'm having a hard time living without you. And which I am, guys. It's difficult, it's difficult, it's difficult. But at the same time, the memories that I have of her, it keeps me going. Like, it's one of the most beautiful things on the face of the earth to have as many memories and so many pictures. Oh my God, I have backed up my hard drives after hard drives because I never want to be without those pictures. We grew up together. Every day was absolutely a joy. I can hear your infectious laughter when I close my eyes. You were such a happy young lady. You would never let me be sad. And even now, when I'm sad, I started thinking about such happy times that we've had. I'll miss your morning hugs and kisses, the way you smile when you walk away, the random I love yous, you walking into my room at night just to check on me, you not wanting to walk with me in the store because you're grown. Like, Amber would tell me, she was like, I can walk by myself, I'm grown. And I would just think, oh my gosh, my child is grown. She don't have to walk with me. I call this my cry towel. Every time I cry, I have this towel, right? And just miss sharing life with you. I'm blessed because God made sure there was nothing, there wasn't anything left to say nor do with you. He planned our beautiful journey, and I'll jump at the chance to do it all over again. You are forever my girl. I love you, your mom. And these pictures here, this is so funny because I realized this when I was gonna sit here and make this video, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna wait till March 21st to make this video. But this was birthday 2017 and my birthday 2019. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea that was even the case, because I was trying to figure out when we took this picture, and I was like, that was on my birthday, because I remember us going out to eat and I was getting ready to go on a trip, and I was getting ready to go actually to the airport. And so we were in Walmart, and Amber said, let's take a picture. And we took a picture, and yeah, that's the picture that we took. And so her obituary reads, Amber LaCorey Williams was born in the union of LaPatrick R. Williams and Dr. Terry C. Smith on December 31st, 1993. On this day, we knew life with Amber would be full of surprises when a doctor said it's a girl. After months of preparing to have a son, God chuckled and gave us the most beautiful girl in the world. Amber made her peaceful transition from this earthly life on October 8, 2019, held by her mother and surrounded by her family and loved ones. During middle school, Amber was instrumental in creating Special Olympics cheer team with Brandon Roberts. Today, they are known as a Southern Stars. Amber graduated from Oak Grove High School in May of 2013. While attending high school, she was involved in a Junior Civitan Club, American Red Cross, Driver's Education, Leadership Council, cheer, and the Homecoming Corps as the sophomore maid. She actively participated in leadership opportunities at the University of Southern Mississippi, earning her position as a Triad AmeriCorps member at the University of Southern Mississippi for 4 years. She earned few recognitions for her commitment to service learning and self-advocacy. In 2016, Amber became a member of Project Search, earning several employment internships alongside her peers. She was amongst the 2017 graduates of this program, being recognized by the city of Hattiesburg. Amber was determined to attend college, and in the spring of 2018, Amber became a student at the University of Southern Mississippi, having declared dance as her major. She had to, and this is a picture right here when she got her ID, when she became a Golden Eagle, and this is when she graduated from high school. It says she traveled extensively, or says, well, let me go back. She was dedicated to volunteer work with the Step Up to Leadership Council and Triad AmeriCorps. Amber never turned down the opportunity to champion a cause. She has traveled extensively throughout the United States and Mississippi alongside her mother, advocating for the equality of persons with intellectual disabilities in the areas of education, healthcare, and community supports. Amber loved life. She loved to travel, car rides, singing Chris Brown, Ashanti, and a little Beyonce. She looked forward to her ARC activities and Civitan camp, which she never unpacked from. Like, we never unpacked from camp. As a participant and for the past 3 years, a counselor, she loved her family. There wasn't a day to pass that she didn't text or call everyone in her phone. She loved to read, listening to Martin Luther King Jr. and Barack Obama speeches, taking selfies, swimming her lip gloss, hanging with her friends, enjoying life. Most importantly, she loved God. She prayed all the time. We will miss those moments when she would stop and say, I'm going to pray for you. Amber left an impact on this world, and today we celebrate her. So even today we celebrate her. We're recognizing her on National Down Syndrome Awareness Day. You will not only cherish her memories, but you will also use her life story as a testimony of God's love, grace, mercy, forgiveness, and his power. So March 21st, so Amber's was born with Down syndrome. It's called trisomy 21. And so that's why National Down Syndrome Awareness Day is on March 21st. Trisomy, tri means 3, right? So, and she was born with the extra set of chromosomes. And you just cannot help but to say, life is good. Life has been good. Life will continue to be good. Even through my grief, life is good. And I'm not going to dismiss the fact that she loved her father, right? Get myself together. She loved her father. And I know that they did not have the relationship that she wanted. But I did put him in her obituary. And he did come to her funeral. And then we had an opportunity to talk. And I would say that I have so much closure. I didn't really have to have closure on Amber's passing. My grieving looks totally different because I have no regrets. And I'm not really sure what he may be experiencing, but I know that there's a God, and I know that God handles all matters, right? And so I did not want to dismiss him. I didn't want to dismiss him because he is the reason that she was given to me, right? So, and I said, Amber loved her father dearly. There was never a day to pass that she did not ask about him nor pray for him. In all her achievements and accomplishments, she would say, my dad is proud of me too. So remember, I told you guys that she would say that her dad was the best, right? So she thought very, very highly of him. So let me get myself together. Okay. She remembered his birthday and often made me buy a cake and a card, which she did. She was the type of person to celebrate others when they were not aware. Amber's heart could hold the world. Her heart only knew love. Even on the morning of her passing, she said, I love you, Mom, and I love my dad too. It was the last thing I ever heard her say. She had a pure heart. God gave us an angel to live with for 25 years. She will forever watch over us. So, I know that there's a God. I've experienced his love. I've experienced all of everything that he has to offer. And having Amber was the greatest testimony that God exists and that God is real. And her transition from this world was even more of a testimony for that. And so, though I have some tears and though I do cry, I am very, very thankful for the opportunity to have had such an amazing young lady who happened to be diagnosed with Down syndrome. My classmates gave me this that says love doesn't count chromosomes, and it doesn't. Regardless if you have 18, 21, 16, 15, and even 13. Because those are all chromosomal defects, right? It doesn't count. And so I wear my blue and gold ribbon. I wear butterflies proudly. I wear her name proudly. Because Amber was and is and will forever be the most beautiful girl in the world. And God could not have given her to a better mother. So I live my life always in memory of her. And there's never a day that I ever forget her. And she's with me. I have her obituary that sits here. I have her Civitan books. I have her pictures back there. Life is good. Life has been good. And it will continue to be good because God got me. He holds me. And so on this day, March 21st, 2020. So it's been 5 months and 13 days. 5 months and 13 days. So if you add up October 8th and you add up the 13 days I've been without her, that gives you 21. And I believe in the power of numbers. Amber died on the 8th day. She was born at 6:58. I buried her on October 18th. 5 months and 13 days. And if you add 5 and 13, you get 18. I believe in the power of numbers. So, I celebrate all of the mothers who have superpowers like myself. We don't quit. We don't give up. But we love unconditional. We advocate. We sing. We dance. We have a taste of heaven that lives within us, outside of us, and always watching over us. So, celebrate with me today. Celebrate with me every day. And continue to pray for me because I will need it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But thank you guys for letting me share my story of my beautiful daughter. So I'm going to go have a good cry now. Thank you guys for allowing me to continue to share my life, my story of my beautiful daughter, Amber Williams, who was diagnosed with Down syndrome when she was, 4 months old. It's been a beautiful journey. It's been a beautiful life. And if you find yourself being a mom of a child with Down syndrome, see it as your way up to heaven because it's a piece of heaven that resides in your household that you will forever experience. Had it not been for Amber, I would have never learned how to be my honest, authentic self and how to love unconditional and how to remain strong and positive even now during my time of grief. That all of that strength, and God gave me that. So I'm going to say to you guys that when you find yourself in a position, and not just having a child with Down syndrome, but just not having such a good day, or you feel like the world is sitting on your shoulders, trust and believe me that God got you. He has had me from day one. He had my life planned with my daughter since day one. And I'm happy to know that I was happy that God never allowed me to have knowledge of Amber having Down syndrome, because I really don't know at that time what could have occurred and what my thought process was. I'm glad he left the biggest surprise as the biggest surprise, that he gave me heaven. He gave me a piece of heaven. And who can fight with God on that? Who can actually really be mad at God for that? I'm not. So I say to you guys, we're going to rock this extra chromosome for the rest of our lives. She's with me spiritually. Y'all, I'm about to preach. I am forever a mother. I am forever a mother with a child, a young adult, a beautiful young lady who rock an extra chromosome. I'm forever that mother. I'm forever that girl. And as they would say, period, period.